Hi and welcome to the Surf Academy UK podcast. I'm your host Ross James. This podcast is to help surfers of all levels up their game through coaching and training. All our guests have extensive experience in the industry and can offer great advice and guidance. So whether you're a beginner, weekend warrior or just love to be in the water, follow us on this journey and don't forget to like and subscribe. Stay stoked and stay healthy. Morning guys, welcome to another episode, and today I am joined by the legendary Beau Young. So yeah, without further ado, Beau, how are you doing? Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, I'm doing great. Yeah, my name's Beau, shaper, singer-songwriter and surfer, I guess, to kind of round myself up as far as what I'm really into and what I do. Yeah, I think probably like most people listening, the ocean's, along with my daughter, is probably my my biggest love. Just being able to go in the ocean at all is such a privilege, and then the fact, what things can you do in the modern day and age that you get to do for free, but riding Mother Nature's energy, and just every day is a blessing. And it's so much more incredible being able to paddle out into the ocean, no matter where you are in the world. We're all so lucky, and I never try and forget that ever.
That's it. It's so good just to remember the simple things, isn't it? And I know myself, I was talking about this to someone the other week. I'm not by any means a highly advanced surfer or anything like that. Although I come from the coast, you know the UK a little bit. I'm Southampton originally, so there's a lot of water, but there's not many waves. And I found from coaching, I put a lot of pressure on myself for a while, thinking I've got to be at a certain level. Students, if they see me surf, they're going to expect something. They don't care. And it's all in your head, isn't it? I think sometimes you just got to go, right. Last year helped. I ended up working at Harlin all summer. And the amount of times I spent on a foamy, I think that really brought things back and not humbled me or anything like that. Just made me remember this is just fun. Like, grab whatever's going to do the job. And going, like you said just before, I think Hang would have been a perfect video as a bit of a reference for just grab whatever board you think is going to suit that day and what sort of mood you're in and go have fun. I still remember that clip of Bonga, and he's got like half a dozen boards laid out on the beach. One minute he's on some tiny short little fish thing, and then next thing he's on some massive longboard, and you're like, mate, this is 8 to 10 foot pipe, and you're on everything.
Yeah,
but that just shows like the joy of surfing, doesn't it? There's no point in taking high performance shortboard when it's waist high and crumbly.
I love that about the ocean. Like it humbles every one of us. Bonga's like the ultimate waterman, but I remember a competition we had in Porto Escondido where it was basically maxed out, and he had to save quite a few people's lives that week. And yeah, it humbles all of us, no matter where you are in your progression of surfing. And I love how, sure, there's like all the techniques and everything now, but it's, when you look at the professional shortboarders, it's all there's a lot of similarity in the way most of them surf because it's the same technique. But the reality is we all have, surfing's still so highly individual, and we're all on our own journey, and we all have our own like parameters. I'm a dad now, which is just the greatest gift, and I hope that my daughter gets to fall in love with surfing to any degree like I have for the ocean. I remember as a child, like, when you scoot along and you're actually on the green face, you're in front of the whitewash. Like, that's a huge accomplishment when you're a little kid, or for example, someone that, in their 70s just is like, I think I want to try surfing. Like, I think it's just, sure, people get upset with the crowds and everything, but everyone deserves the right to be able to feel what we get, no matter what level anyone's at. It's just such a tremendous thing. It's the ocean with its many moods, if it's flat, 14 foot onshore, offshore, cross shore. It's like all the things we go through in life in general. Like you can have low times, high times, but it's just the whole thing I've always been about is just paddle out regardless. You know, it'll cleanse you, make you feel amazing, and then you get back onto land, and ultimately you've taken that ionization and the way it gives you energy into your day. Ultimately, I think it's the greatest teacher, but it's also such a healer of the soul. Like if you're feeling joy, you can paddle out and feel even more enlightened when you come in. Like it's just amazing. Like it's yeah. I mean, I love music, and music's great. You get on a wave, and be it with a band or going through the process of a song for 3.5 minutes or what have you. But there's still something indefinable about catching a little baby wave that has come from out in the sea somewhere, and you get to ride that one wave yourself, and there's never going to be two of them, completely and utterly unique, you know. And yeah, it is quite indefinable though.
Yeah,
I mean,
I
I've
definitely
definitely
agree.
just got more in love with it. You know, the further I've gotten into it, and like I know for a fact that my dad he can't really surf. It's very difficult for him to get to his feet, but you know, lying down any way to just catch that momentum is pretty cool. Very cool.
That's it.
Whatever it may be. Yeah.
Well, you saying that, when I was talking with Corky the other week, obviously he went through a bit of a horrible experience a few years back, and he he no longer surfs. But he was saying how he ended up pretty much on a paddleboard, still surfing, like paddle prone, get to your feet, and just, I mean, obviously being in, I think it's Mexico, isn't it? He's residing now. Like he's got this lovely left hand point, so at least you've got the time that once you are up, once you're on the wave, sorry, you can then make your way to your feet by whatever means possible, and you can still sort of just ride that in and cruise in. You might not be doing any 360s or anything like that or hanging 10, but at least you're still there. And like you say, it does sort of cleanse you a bit. I mean, I was in Morocco the other week, and unfortunately I got heat strokes. I only managed to get 2 full days in the morning in. The morning was the day we were leaving for the airport. Thankfully, we had an evening flight. I was like, I can't leave without at least getting in the water once more. But
Yeah.
that first day paddling out, I think it was Camel Beach on the, what would it be the north end. Paddled out, and although it was quite a long paddle because it was a higher tide, it was just nice. I was like, oh, I'm not working. I'm not dealing with any issues with work or home or blah, blah, blah. And then, especially when you get first duck dive, I mean, I'm not a particularly religious person, but it does feel almost like a mild baptism. You like get underneath, wave goes over the back. He's just like, oh, now I'm good. Like
Yeah.
I'm where I need to be at the moment. And yeah, no matter what's going on, you know that for the next 40 minutes, hour and a half, 2 hours, however long you're going to be in the water, nothing really matters. It'll be there waiting for you, but at least you're going to head back and your head's in a much better space. As such, I think it's so meditative because either you're so focused on having a good time, or if you're in waves of a bit more consequence, then you have to be focused just from the safety point of view that there's not really any space in your head to have any sort of BS going on, any worries about whatever's happening at home. You've got to be focused on what you're doing, and that is basically meditation. So I think that's why you'll find a lot of surfers do, if not at the beginning, by the time they've been surfing for a few years, they are slightly more spiritual, whether they want to be or not, because it comes with it, doesn't it?
Yeah. Yep, I agree completely. You have nowhere else to be on that wave than in the now. There's no way around it,
Mm.
you know.
Yeah, exactly.
I think you described it the best way it can be described. Like And it's it's one of those things. Like obviously, just from when you love something, you end up doing it more often and more often, and you naturally become better at it. But I think that whole cathartic thing where you're immersed in the sea, and it does. If someone is hearing this, they're probably thinking where we could be talking about a god potentially.
Yeah.
I think she is, incredible thing, and yeah, there's just almost like as you were saying, it's almost like a pilgrimage to. Like I've been out the last few years. I've had a little bit of time out with knees and other things. Actually, blew my knee out the last time off South Devon there at an outside reef, and it's freezing cold. And kind of like my brother-in-law and his friends kind of helped me get back to the car. But it's like those times out. It's when you get back in there that it becomes even more amplified. I think where you're just like, I'm not taking this for granted. Like, and often now, like when I think about it now, it's like if you're injured and you can even if you're in a position to be able to paddle out and just be in that space potentially, slide off the board. Like my partner and I, we when I was injured, we'd go swimming basically every day, and that. It's a rush. The whole Wim Hof style thing and everything. It's great,
Mm.
but I don't know if anything beats actually slipping off your board into the ocean, be it in a wetsuit or not. It might be that aspect potentially. I don't
Oh
know that
yeah.
feeling. You're not bobbing on a boat, you're not swimming, you're on a surfboard, and it's got a certain feeling, and it's kind of becomes at one with us. That feeling and the emotion it brings.
So I think, especially with like a bigger board, when you're not sort of sat in the water, the amount of times I've been on a log and obviously you're 2.5, 3 inches out of the water, depending on the thickness of your board, but you can just lead there, chill in, especially on a smaller day when you can just sort of relax a little bit. You don't, it's not too rippy, like you're in some nice, easy conditions. Just being able to lay on the board, look at the horizon, look at the landscape, wherever you're surfing. Again, I've done it in Morocco because it was only the second time I've been there. So just taking it all in was incredible. And it's just relaxing, isn't it? Like you could just, there, your arms and your legs can just float in. You're sort of starfishing on the board if you want. And again, there's just nothing going on. Well, there's loads going on underneath, which can be quite an eerie feeling, I find sometimes,
Yeah,
especially at a new spot. But I suppose being from Australia, you've probably had that feeling a few times,
yeah.
knowing some of the guys
I
and
mean,
girls swimming around.
I've always been one that's kind of like, I've spent years and years and years of my life surfing alone, and that has its kind of moments, especially here in Oz. But it's also that thing of just letting go, I guess. At the end of the day, yeah, it's it's a pretty monumental thing just to be like in our lives, be them short or long or however they are, a blip of time. We're in nature, not even like on a mountain on a snowboard or skis. We're actually in it. Like we're not on it. We're in it a
Mm.
lot. As you were saying, duck diving is like, and I obviously swimming you get the same sensation, but we're on a vehicle that can, obviously body surfing is probably the greatest form of surfing, I guess. Looking at dolphins and the incredible body surfers that are there, but yeah, I don't know. It's I don't know. I've always said, and also just the majesty of it. Like a lot of my songs, it's like majestic cathedrals are crashing out of sea and things like that. It's there is that, as you put earlier, there is that kind of ode to something higher and bigger than us, much, much, and we get to see nature in its most beautiful forms, and there's no denying it brings us weak in the knees. Like especially here on the north coast where I live, like it's got that morning of the earth kind of feel where you have the backlit green waves and you're paddling out in the morning and you're like, where am I? I'm on another planet here, Um, just yeah, and a lot of I tend to write some songs that go down that spiritual cosmic kind of slant, and oftentimes people think it's about a woman, but it's often about, it's predominantly about the sea and just all that it's given me and all of us. Like it's, yeah. And I mean, yeah, I guess we could talk about the spirituality of surfing as an art form the entire podcast, really.
Yeah. Yeah, I
That's
mean,
pretty easily done. I don't know if people tune in go,
yeah. Welcome to the hippie channel. Yeah, no, I mean, I remember when I first come across you about 20 years back when I first started going back to your music. I think there's three songs that stuck out. I think it's Memories, Peace Be With You, and then there was another slightly more upbeat one. And I mean, this
Change
is Waves of Change. That's the one, yeah. I mean, for a while there wasn't much music coming from your end. So if I wanted some real surfy sort of music, it was that was going on, and it was great. Like it was completely different to pretty much anything else you'd hear. And it's even when you're listening to it, you could just hear that. Okay, some of it's probably done in a studio. From going back to sort of like the spiritual side of it, you could just hear that originally it was one man and his guitar, probably sat down by the beach, just had a good day in the waves, and you could hear that inspiration coming through. And I mean, funny enough, I'll go on.
oh, it's funny. Like even like the context of waves of change. It's about fall. It's actually about really falling out of love with your first lover, basically. But like I've never been able to write like a sad bastard song because when you think about the privilege of being a surfer, like it's always on the joyful side, really. So every time I
Mm,
write, like it can go into that, can start off that way, and then the chorus comes on happy, and then it explains what the person's going through, and then comes up happy. You just feel like we're so fortunate. Nothing can keep you down when you've got the joy and love of the ocean.
yeah, I found the times I've lived at the beach have been, or at least accessible to a wave of some sort. I've coached at the wave pools in the UK. So although it's not the ocean, just being able to get in there and still ride the wave, no matter how bad your day's been, if you have had, I don't know, a breakup or you've lost your job or something's gone on, just being able to get in there, you've got that time then to sort of, like I was saying earlier about it being meditative, you've got the time to process what's gone on. And especially if I'm out on a longboard and it's a small day, I'm probably going to be out for a good 2-3 hours. You're not in a rush. You're sort of taking your time with it. I've generally processed what I need to do and how to deal with it in that time. So it's sort of like clean slate by the time you get back out. You're like, actually, I'm good. I've had my little rant, or I've had my little cry, or I've had my little whatever going on out in the sea.
Yeah,
Got washed around a little bit, took a few on the head, and gone, oh yeah, doesn't really matter. It sucks, but it doesn't really matter.
it does give you that kind of that big picture clarity, doesn't it? Really, like
Mm.
yeah,
And that's why a lot of people sort of, once they do start surfing, you've got that challenge aspect where you're always going to be, the goalposts are always moving,
yeah,
no matter who you are, from a little 5-year-old Grom that's just getting onto a board for the first time to the likes of your old man, Corky, yourself, Slater, it doesn't matter, and anyone in between. Them goalposts are always going to move. I mean, you've got that, but it's also, I think, that peaceful feeling that you get, and that sort of either when you get in the water or when you get out, maybe both. That is so addictive that you have to keep going back. I mean, for me, I've done 20 years and I'm still pushing now to make my life revolve around surfing a little bit more every single time. This podcast, obviously, I do surf fitness training and coaching. The idea is to get a little place of my own one day, Australia or Portugal, and not necessarily full blown surf camp, but be able to go, right, let's get some retreats going on, or let's get some one-to-one people in, like sessions in for a week, and just that I've got that opportunity to live by the coast, not have to worry about money anymore, and just enjoy it. And it just keeps pushing people. I mean, you better than most will know that feeling. I mean, what have you got? Nearly 40 years under your belt surfing now?
Yeah, yeah, I'd say definitely that. Definitely 40 years, maybe a few more actually. But and it's like
Yeah.
thinking about what we were just talking about. Like there are times where it's not easy to paddle out, and it feels like it's a bit of a task, and sometimes we don't paddle out. But I like to ask, George Greener always says the best surf you ever had is the last one you've paddled out. You know what I mean? Like, and it's true. Like, even if you catch
Mm,
1.5 waves and they don't go far, there's something in it. You know what I mean? Like, yeah,
yeah.
the best surf you've had, the last one you've had. So, um,
Yeah.
and it's like,
You're in there and you're having fun.
and seeing my daughter, it's like I feel like I have that childlike world of wonder that I see in her eyes through surfing. You know what I mean? Like I see where she's coming from. See why because she's seeing things through fresh eyes. But as you were
Mm,
saying earlier, it's like a clean slate every time we paddle back out. And it's like, oh my gosh, this is incredible. Even if it's onshore, but you had a moment on that wave. You know what I mean? And that'll light you up for the entire day. And ideally, you're a better person from it. I think it's quite philosophical, the whole undertaking as well. Yeah, it's just so much deeper and more than being boxed into a sport. Yeah, I did it for sport for quite some time, and it was, for me, it felt like a way to make a living out of surfing. But the reality is now it's opened up so much. You referencing hang and a bunch of people riding different surf craft. Now it's great to see that surfing's finally got a lot more open-minded individuals, and everyone knows they can just ride whatever the hell they want, however they
mm.
want to ride it, whenever they want to ride it, and there's no stigmas now, which I think is really, speaking of refreshing, it's a great thing.
Yeah, it's quite recent as well, isn't it? I mean, like I say, I mean, to me, 20 years feels like a long time, and it is and it isn't. But it's probably, up to about 10 years ago when I know in the UK at least, you still had shortboard, longboard, bodyboarders, and paddleboarding started becoming a thing in the surf. And it was slowly building up, but you still had uh, gaps between the disciplines. Don't get me wrong, like you'd go out as a group of friends and you got a sponge. There's someone on a longboard, someone on a shortboard, and being on the south coast surfing Bournemouth, there's a lot of fishes kicking around because, as you probably know, you need plenty of volume. It's few and far between. So you got that sort of little bit of banter going on, but recently, yeah, I say the last 10 years, it's definitely people have explored a bit more, put the egos away and gone, look, I can ride a 510 because it's 39 litres and it's got a really nice wide nose on it. Like, great, I'm finally able to shortboard. And you don't need to be doing anything fancy. Just some people just need to be on a smaller board, whereas others, I love a longboard. I've got a performance shortboard. I took it to Morocco. Kind of regretted that. I was really struggling because I hadn't surfed for 3 months. So although I've been training in the gym, I was still able to catch waves. But you just know, don't you, when you're a little bit undergunned, you're not on the right board for the day.
It's that little bit too little foam when,
Yeah,
depending on what the wave's dictating and things like that, and you have to kind of force it and searching out the power when in reality, oftentimes you don't need to search out the power. Like you're
yeah,
with it with foam, you're with the power source. So
yeah,
yeah,
exactly. I've got a Bic Ecomp 90 that's sat in the garden, and I know a lot of people look down on Bics. So I had my little vent against them years back when you had the weird little egg-shaped nose thing, and I couldn't get on with them personally. But these Ecomp ones, I don't know if you've ever had a go, but I think they're great fun. Obviously,
yeah,
they're
cool.
indestructible, and you can catch everything. They're really good. So Personally, I should have probably taken that. But I mean, going on to shapes and everything, obviously you're still shaping, aren't you? How's that all going?
It's going well. I mean, I think probably most shapers around the world would agree right now. With the economy, things are slower, but I'm still shaping, quite a lot. And I guess people come to me a lot for longboards, and then the shape I'd be famous for is the wombat design, which was kind of it was basically I always looked up to Wayne Lynch, Michael Peterson. It was a bit of a morph of those shapes they had mid 70s, except I put side fins on it really, so V bottom with a large center and side. It's kind of like a micro mal kind of thing, I guess.
Mm.
And at the time in the 90s, like mid 90s, the 6.4 was probably the most popular. I'm making bigger ones now because a lot of people are liking them in like 7.2s, 7.4s, just because it's opened up more to that size range. But that's a fun shape. It goes in all conditions. It's pretty bulletproof and user friendly. Like someone beginning to surf or someone highly advanced, it just works.
Mm.
And then, actually about a year or so ago, I was up picking some blanks up the coast, and Shane Horan was there, and he goes, "Give me a look at what you're riding." I've got this little egg called a quokka, and it's got large, highly flexible twin fins on it, and it's very kind of elliptical, round-looking thing. Shane's always been into that, obviously, since
Mm.
since very young. It was just funny, like comparing our shapes, and just realize I didn't realize my board had touches of Shane Horn on it until I was talking to the guy. I mean, I never even thought about Screaming Blue and all those incredible things you were doing. Sticking to your
Yeah.
guns, pivotal times of your surfing career. So that was a good chat, and just yeah. So I think yeah, I do like those little round eggs. They're like really good fun. You can't fault a traditional 70s fish, All credit to Steve Lewis and Skip Fry and the guys that kind of, through their shapes, took it to the world before their time, and then they came back, which is very cool. And then, yeah, the wombat shape and my logs are really quite, they're, a lot of like the top pro guys, I think, the Aussie guys anyway, are riding those kind of involvement, kind of roll bottom, um, kind of like that 66 style that my dad was riding back then. But for me, I'm more of the ilk of like Takayama, kind of user friendly Model T, or like a nice round tail, wide point forward. It's called a Peace Train, and um, that was just a one off hand shape, and I kind of just spent probably 8 or 10 hours on the thing. A beautiful triple stringer I made for my ex partner, and I just couldn't believe it. It just went incredibly, and that's kind of my design process is just having the blank because I, being a bit of a traditionalist at heart, I don't want to just pull it up on a screen and design a board that way. That's just not how I want to do it. I want to hand shape an incredible model that I know is bulletproof, and then have someone who has the computer knowledge, which is not me. I mean, I think most shapers these days are great on a computer, but I'm not, and I kind of pride myself in that. Like I know my way around a planer and the right blank for the board, and I know that's old school and it's being phased out. But I think every shaper personally worth their salt should be able to hand shape boards. But
Thing is, I think
that's just because I guess at heart I am a bit of a romantic in a way.
if you look at going back kind of like the hippie spiritual side of things, if you're looking at longboards and non anything other than a high performance shortboard, for example, you've got this almost side to it where a lot of people that know how surfboards were made sort of back in the day and the more traditional techniques, they love that. And I think if you can still advertise that fact, it gives that little bit more meaning to the board. I mean, the guy that got me into surfing, an old friend of mine, his dad taught him to surf, and he also shaped his own boards here in Southampton. And they're little big boxy 50-50 rails, like anywhere between 5 and 9 inch square tails. Always reminded me of Masochist, Big Wednesday.
Yeah, yeah.
That's just your Oklahoma attitude. But for the South Coast UK, oh man,
Mm.
no one was going to out paddle you. I don't even care if you're a little lightweight Grom. I'm on a 9.4. It's about 3 to 3.5 inches thick in the middle. Not far off that in the nose. Like, you're going nowhere. But I went down and I watched him in the shed, had a little go. I still remember my mate turning around one day. He goes, "Oh, do you want to learn a shape?" I was like, "Yeah." It's like, "Right, cool. This is polishing." I was like, "Great." Big old log, and there I am with like 7 different types of sandpaper. I was like, "Oh yeah, thanks, mate." Um, yeah, a little bit of RSI in the shoulder, elbow, and wrist, and I know how to polish a
Yeah, that's
board. But like
polishing's a
seeing
big.
that process was so much fun, and I think there's always going to be that element of, yes, you can buy off the rack. Yes, you can go to shape and go, this is exactly what I want, but I want to buy local. So they can put the dimensions of a Machado Cardo in and go, right, there you go, you've got it in peak. And you go, yeah, this is great, cool, thanks, mate. And that's almost it. I think once that gets home, it's another ball in the quiver. Whereas if you've gone to someone like yourself and gone, oh, I want this, I want that, I found that I prefer a nice pulled in tail, or like you say with your piece train with a wide point further forward, especially if you're going to go out on a slightly more hollow or bigger day, you kind of want that for your bottom turns, don't you? So you don't bog. Having that chat and then knowing that you're there in the shed with a sander, with a planer, with a pencil, and doing a whole process there and then. There isn't many machines in sight except for maybe a couple of power tools here and there. You're like, right, amazing. You know that there's a lot more love, a lot more effort, a lot more uh, just work with hands have gone into that board, and blood, sweat,
Yeah,
and tears. It's
yeah,
and I don't think that'll ever completely go. It might be a bit more of a niche market, and people will pay that premium for it, and I think it's totally worth it. But you could go order an Epic TJ Jensen Pro, which, don't get me wrong, they're lovely looking boards, and I would love to have a little blast on one. But I know for me, I could order that, drop £1,500, it'll turn up in 1 to 2 weeks. Or I can come to someone like yourself and go, this is what I want. I might even want the TJ Pro dimensions. But the difference is it's hand shaped. And yeah, I don't think we'll ever lose that completely.
no, I mean, like it's just such a fast-paced world now, isn't it? So it's like
Mm.
that's click and collect or whatever. It's just like that kind of thing. But um, yeah, I like to keep my hand in it in that regard, just because it is a tip of the hat to my elders, and um, I kind of don't want to lose it. I don't want to lose that. And there is part of it that's a bit ridiculous. It takes 5 hours for me to hand shape a log. So it's a,
Yeah,
but I mean that's a real job, I guess. It's not, you know, but
exactly.
but it's horses, and there's a place for everything. Like, I worked for quite some time with a company that was doing a lot of pop out boards because I wasn't paying the bills with my boards. Probably predominantly because I'm just not very good with social media and those things. I've never been great at it. So I think that was probably why it wasn't doing amazingly. So I worked with these other people as well for a period, and I tried to justify it. And in the end, I still feel the same way now, even though I'm not working with them. But um, everyone, no matter where you're at, like everyone, financial income, religious persuasion, any of those things, everyone has a right. Some kid from an underprivileged family should be able to have a surfboard under the Christmas tree. So I don't really, like you were saying, like I think, I mean, Taylor's such a phenomenal surfer, and I think his designs. He's an incredible designer. Like he knows the surfboard back to front. So I like that. Like I like that about the whole thing. Like there's no competition. Like you're saying, it's just
Mm.
they're just different things. They're not, And then like my little girl, she'll be on a foamy for sure. And like yeah, it's just surfing's so big now that everyone has a place. And
Exactly. There's
and
definitely a
it's hard
plus
to
side.
yeah, and a magic model's a magic model at the end of the day. I think, be it with a planer or via a computer, like as long as the DNA and the gold's in there, then it's there. Yeah, but I guess like when it comes to planers and things like that, I guess they're kind of considered a long-term wall hanger more so. You would say, yeah,
Yeah. No, amazing. I think, yeah, like you say, where surfing has become so big, you've got, I dread to think the numbers, but
yeah, I don't know.
it's, yeah, like everyone's got their different styles. So you could have someone that wants a more performance board. They're in that higher sort of wage bracket. So to them, one of Taylor's might be quite an accessible board. And I'll go, yeah, I
Yep.
don't want to wait. I'm not in the mood for that or whatever. So they can order it. It rocks up. Whereas you might have someone else that goes, actually, no, followed Beau for a long time. I really want one of his boards and we'll put an order in for yourself. And it's not going to affect one or the other. You're not going
No,
to have,
not
it's
at all.
not like years back and you got two or three shapers in a surf town and everyone's going to one and the other guy's going, what the hell? Like, why are you going to him? Like, come on to us.
Yeah, exactly.
Because there's so many
There,
styles of boards now.
and yeah, there's enough people there, enough people in the world that love surfing that every shaper can get by. So that's what matters.
Yeah, that's
I
great.
think.
So, I don't want to take up too much of your time, but it'd be good to get a couple of little sort of coaching tips from you as well. And like we mentioned the other day, as soon as you are over, whether that's in the sea or maybe the pool if we're really stuck, I'd love to get a session with you.
Yeah, I'd love that
If
too,
you,
mate.
yeah, if you could give, say, just two or three little nuggets of advice to people for the surfing, whether that's technical, more holistic, what would
hmm
they be?
First thing that probably springs to mind is rolling your shoulder over, be it towards the face on your forehand or away from the face on your backhand, because the rest of the body will follow suit. I always find that one really pretty pivotal. If you initiate that shoulder roll you're going to roll onto your toes for a bottom turn. And the more you engage that, obviously with bending the knees, but
Okay,
I just know personally, like I'm definitely quite dictated by my shoulders and the upper body movements. The lower body tends to follow. So that would
that's
be,
interesting. I've not heard that one before. Like
yeah, right.
I've looked in, yeah, that's new to me. Quite interested. So
I
obviously,
think
what?
your
Go
feet
on.
will follow you. So if you imagine a bottom turn, you've got your knees bent and you roll your shoulder over, and immediately following your shoulders will be rolling onto toes off the bottom.
Yeah. So would that be your
Yeah,
leading shoulder you're talking about?
your leading shoulders. Sorry, yeah. And then I guess like definitely with the way I surf, off the top you kind of arch back and both arms up and rolling onto the back of both of your shoulders will initiate your heels, bringing you back down and around. But that's definitely like style orientated. But I think, like you're saying, the leading arm and shoulder has a lot to do with free turning medium.
Yeah, I've never really thought about the shoulder side of it. Like, it makes sense because I mean, you look at a lot of sort of.
John,
So I watched a breakdown the other week. Yeah, and there was Dane Gadauskas done this video, and he broke down one of Tom Curran's bottom turns, and he's obviously up there with the old stylish bottom turn. But
the
obviously, he's
absolute
saying like
creator.
you yeah, it's there's a reason there's pictures everywhere. Um, the leading arm was down. I think Brad Gerlach talks about this as well, where you want your leading arm almost on the inside of your front leg, but that would make sense having that shoulder rolled forward as well. But no one's ever really pointed out the shoulder. It's all the arm.
It's kind of quite hand. That's a bit hand in glove, really, if you think about it. Like they're going to be in unison. Like
Yeah.
they're going to follow each other for sure.
So what else would you suggest? Because obviously a lot of the listeners, they're not pros. I'm not a pro. So this will be, you're looking at that sort of mid-range weekend warrior.
Well, I mean, this is probably, you know, even even earlier than that. Like you complete beginners. I always get them to look at the shore when they're on a wave rather than looking down at their feet because they feel like they're just moving way too fast, where they're really not. But that one, look to shore to kind of get that stability when you're just planing along in the flats, you know, rather than looking down at your feet where you get freaked out thinking you're going overly quick. And then I guess for intermediate, I don't know, it just popped into my head then, say intermediate longboarder. In relation to longboard, I always, because people always want to cross step and kind of understand how to do it. And for me, it's just take a really wide stance, like so you cross them over, and then you kind of get used to. So you're going from, so you momentarily have 100% pressure on that front foot, and then you go to 50-50 through the cross step. So then you're 50-50, and then just kind of going between the two, you know, regular stance and then a wide cross step. Get used to that sensation where you've got the mix of both pressures on both feet and then back to 100% to 50%, and just get used to that transition but with a wide stance. Just so you have that kind of that tripod kind of feeling where you're solid. Do that. And you don't need to do 10 baby steps to the nose. Like you don't have to be that ballerina that so many of the amazing professional female longboarders are. Just take big steps and don't feel uncomfortable with how you look. Get comfortable in your body. Take the wide steps and it'll come easy. And then next thing you know, we're taking that one extra big step and you'll be hanging 5.
Yeah. I think that's the mistake I made quite a bit was I was focusing too much on style first rather than practicality and actually getting the foundations in.
Yeah.
Yeah, completely agree with what you're saying about sort of your weight placement. It's so easy to, as you step forward, that weight goes on that front foot. But if the wave's not ready for you to be that far up yet, then,
Yeah.
well, we all know what happens. We're going for a bit of a
Yeah.
Superman.
Yeah.
Yeah, so knowing, I think, like you say, that will help with the timing on the wave as well, because as soon as you put that weight on it, if you start transferring when you're in the middle of the step, for example, you go and you can almost see the rail and the nose starting to dig in. You can go, oh, okay, I'm back. You can stay in the
Yeah.
cross, or you can
Yeah.
completely step back. But yeah,
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
you just got to play with it, haven't you?
You do. And, you know, obviously the kind of smaller, rollier conditions, just to even if you're quite an advanced intermediate, is just get a feel for taking those steps. And the wider stance just means you're not going to get knocked off as readily. And I guess the weight distribution one, the distribution once you're in that wide cross step would probably be 70% pressure on the front foot, 30 on the back, something like that. You just get used to that, and then you go back to 50-50, then you go 70-30 when you cross, and just get used to that. And like we're talking about with the ocean, like it's still got to be fun,
Mm.
and that's what's so enjoyable about trying to help people with technique and how much joy it brings us to whatever incrementally it is. You know, I know I'm the same. Like I've been learning keyboard, and it's like, oh my gosh, it was only a movement of one finger, and I'm playing another chord entirely. But if someone hadn't shown me you're going from a D to a C, or you know, how about this technique, what have you, and it's just a little increments, and then before you know it, what do they say? 20 minutes a day. That's kind of the golden rule. But obviously, with surfing, we don't all have that luxury, so just stay out there a little bit longer, and you know, yeah.
That's it. Amazing. Out of curiosity, because obviously the whole premise behind this podcast is coaching, but it's also sort of like your training side of things as well. Have you ever done much in a way of training? It's quite a new thing, and I almost got laughed at from Corky when I said, "Did he do any training back in the day?" He's like, "Yeah, man, we surf more. It was bitching," and that was pretty much the extent of it. Or it'd be a military style workout because back in the sort of late 50s and 60s, there wasn't much in the way of training, really.
Yeah.
It was weird. Like people didn't do that. So yeah, just out of curiosity, like if you've had a period where you've not been able to get in the water as much, work, family, so forth, what have you done to sort of stay almost ready for it?
So yeah, well, I guess the most energy I've ever put into trying to better myself as a surfer was really honestly wholeheartedly when I was competing. And I think my friends, some of my best friends who I was on tour with, they didn't know I was training, but
Hmm.
I wanted to surf the best I could surf. So I'd always been into yoga, so I did more yoga and slow long holds, really, because that kind of works with longboarding. When you think about it, it's a lot of balance, and ultimately the longest hang ten you can do is the best one.
Yeah.
So and 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 at that time it was really beneficial. And then I always felt like weights and yoga were like the ultimate combination. I did those religiously, and no one knew. But I think it really, really, really aided me. And I did it purely because I loved it. And I couldn't believe I was getting paid to go surfing, to be honest with you. I just could not fathom that idea. And I was just so in love with surfing that I just wanted to be the best I could be. Like we've been talking about the whole aspect of it. But I think now, like I think Pilates is not that I have done much, but I'm kind of embarking on that now. I think surfing's very core related, and most of us surfers don't use our core. I know I don't because my hips are quite often on fire from like I have quite a swivelly style, and yeah, so I'm kind of yoga, Pilates. I guess those two things. I think for me as a surfer, um, with some back and knee niggles, the ripe old age of 50. Um, I think, yeah, yoga and Pilates are pretty beneficial.
Amazing. And
Yeah.
obviously nutrition is right up there with anything anyway. They do say that the gut is a second brain. Do you follow any particular diet, or is it more just try and stay clear of processed and just
I,
more what I call the common sense diet?
yeah, I think that everything in moderation. Like I don't drink a whole heap or anything like that. I try and eat healthy. Like my partner's a naturopath, so I'm lucky there because she cooks pretty amazing food, and I kind of reciprocate that with my two favorite food groups, which are nachos and pizza, which kind of balances out the whole the whole thing. Just because I like them doesn't mean I should eat them all the time. So I'm very
Yeah,
thankful for her. But yeah, I try and eat as well as I can. Yeah, I wouldn't say I'm regimented with it. Like I know some others. I've gone through phases, like big phases of vegetarianism and all that stuff. But I eat a bit of everything, to be honest with you. But yeah, like you're saying, I try not to bomb myself with anything too bad for too long or anything, and I can tell when I've been, eating things that aren't great because your body does tell you. I try and balance that out with, clean foods, clean vegetables and things like that. So balance, I guess.
yeah, everything's balanced, and it seems to be harder and harder to maintain that these days with a lot of things.
Yeah, I know. Well, the world's pretty crazy, so it's good that we've been able to have this chat. It just puts things in perspective on how we should be rolling.
Yeah, exactly. And rolling the shoulders through the bottom turn and balance and rolling. There we go. There's the tips. Well, look, Beau, it's been absolutely brilliant having you on. And I can tell we're at 54 minutes, and there's so many other things I could sort of approach you with. But we can maybe leave that for another time. Maybe get a face-to-face in when you're over in the UK later on in the year.
Yeah, Russ, I'd love that. That'd be awesome. It's
Brilliant.
been
Well,
lovely.
yeah, we'll keep it there, mate, because I know it's getting on over your neck of the
Over
woods.
here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just starting this size. So a coffee is on the agenda in a minute. But yeah, brilliant having you on. And if so, I found some. Oh yeah, found your newer album on Spotify the other day.
Oh, yep, yep.
Brilliant,
Just a
loved it.
little, just a
Yeah, I
little
haven't.
EP. Yeah,
Yeah, haven't picked a favorite yet, but I'll have a look.
yeah,
If people want to get hold of you, whether that's anything to do with music, shaping, coaching, what's the
yep.
best way to get hold of you?
Probably Beau Young surfboard. Yeah, Beau Young surfboard at gmail.com. One of those two. Yeah,
Brilliant. So cool. Yeah, well, I'll pop that in the show notes when it's up and running in around end of April, early May. This will be coming out.
cool.
So yeah, perfect. Well, we'll finish there and look forward to the next one. Cheers, Bo. Been a pleasure.
Thanks for having me, Ross.
Absolute pleasure, mate. Hi, I really hope you enjoyed that podcast. If you're interested in anything that Guest has to say today, then please have a look in the description for the links. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe, and we'll catch you in the next episode.